So Chip Kelly is getting absolutely dragged through the mud by UCLA media members, by fans, everywhere you look. It's negative about Chip Kelly and leaving UCLA. There's a piece in the LA Times about quiet quitting by the now Ohio State offensive coordinator. And I am not going to defend everything about Chip Kelly's UCLA's head coach. I am leaning far more than just 51-49 in defending his tenure in Los Angeles. Here's why. The Bruins did not have a Chip Kelly problem. The Bruins had and still have an administration problem. They have a leadership problem. That's why their football program is not as successful as it's capable of being. It hasn't been in my entire lifetime. They're the number 2 program in their own city. USC has felt like they've run away from them at times. Chip Kelly went 3-3 against USC, but let's just put that aside. Okay, let's put that aside. So the narratives about Chip Kelly out there, I'll push back on the ones I don't agree with. I'm going to yield some ground here to those who are likely to be in the comment section who are not going to agree with my particular take here. Chip Kelly leaving just before spring football puts your administration in a difficult situation. I am not going to argue that. Chip Kelly has never been and was not at UCLA a great recruiter. Not something that he is big on. He wasn't at Oregon either, and he wasn't big about, things with alumni and donors and everything like that. But you know what? Okay, those are fair criticisms of Chip Kelly. Here's what's not fair about criticizing Chip Kelly. Looking at his tenure at UCLA and saying this is a failure, this guy was a mess, it was a train wreck, it was awful, is just simply not true. It is not true. And I think UCLA fans are directing their anger, which they deserve to have, as someone, who, if you're a UCLA fan, is in a major city, and you've got the recruiting footprint that you have and the television market and the stadium that you play in is the home of college football, for goodness sake. Yeah, UCLA football should be better, but it never has been, and it won't be until there's a cultural and administrative change. And that change is demonstrated, or the need for change is demonstrated in their lack of commitment in several areas. So I don't think Chip Kelly was a great recruiter. He never was. I don't think he wanted to do anything except coach football. That's why he's now an offensive coordinator against UCLA in the Big Ten. We said, I'd rather be an OC. Like, part of that is certainly on Chip Kelly. But the administration at UCLA, to say that they're committed the way you need to be competitive at a high level in today's college football world, is way off base. Because D'Anton Lynn was UCLA's defensive coordinator this past year. He was a stud. His side of the ball was actually better than Chip Kelly's, which is something that I thought would happen because they had a reset at the quarterback position. It was between Ethan Garbers, Colin Schlee, and the 5-star Dante Moore, who's now at Oregon. All those guys weren't able to separate themselves. So it was kind of this weird smorgasbord mix, and should it be this guy or that guy, or what should happen here or there? It was a bounce back year or a reset year of sorts. That's what my expectations were for UCLA. I predicted their record right on the money at 7-5. Their defense was very, very good. Not only did UCLA allow D'Anton Lynn to leave the program, he went to their crosstown rival. Okay, when you look at programs that are committed to winning at a high level, they don't let those things happen. Lateral moves should not be ones, especially to USC, that an administration that cares deeply about winning on the football field allows to happen. Perfect example. The Washington Huskies offensive coordinator from this past year, who's now my Seahawks offensive coordinator in the NFL, Ryan Grubb, he was courted by Alabama. The Crimson Tide wanted to hire him as their offensive coordinator. And the Huskies said, we will give you $2 million and you'll be the highest paid coordinator in this entire conference if you just stay and we go make a run at a national championship. And guess what? They made it all the way to the national championship game. That's what an all-in investment looks like. You don't let your great coaches walk to USC. That's not what happens here. So then the other narrative about Chip Kelly is he didn't recruit. Okay, he took over a situation at UCLA that wasn't great, hasn't been a great job, certainly not a bad job. I think if you put the right coach in place at UCLA, I don't know if DeShaun Foster's that guy, but if you were to put him in place there, then you would certainly have a better situation than they have had. Although let's not pretend like everything was a complete and total mess. But here are Chip Kelly's recruiting classes. He was hired in 2018. Now, admittedly, I don't know how influential he was in that 2018 class. I don't remember all the details and the timeline and everything of that sort. But that was their highest ranked recruiting class during his tutelage. It was 19th. In 2019, it was 44th. Then it went up to 31st. Then it was 25th. Then it was 29th. Then it was 25th. And now the 24 class, of course, because Chip Kelly didn't want to be there anymore, is all the way down to 59th. So in his 6 seasons, that's 1, 2, 3. Oh, yeah. 4 classes that are inside the top 30. Now, is that where UCLA recruiting is capable of being? No, I don't believe so. But to say that Chip Kelly did something different at UCLA than what he would have done anywhere else is not accurate. He is not known to be a great recruiter. The administration had to have known that when they hired him. And did he have enough talent to win more games than he did? Yep, a lot of coaches do. Saying, well, he fell short of expectations. You know how many coaches fall short of expectations but are still succeeding? Heck, Dan Lanning at Oregon fell short of expectations last year. They should have beaten Washington at least once, if not twice, and guess what? He went 0 for 2. And in his first year, you should always beat Oregon State. He didn't do that. Coming short in an individual season is not reflective of an overall indictment of a coach to say, well, he came up short this year. Steve Sarkisian went 5-7 at Texas. Texas is a much bigger football school than UCLA. It's not close. He had a 5-7 year. And then this past season, of course, he was in the college football playoff. They, quote unquote, fell short of expectations there. Should Steve Sarkisian just be viewed as a bum head coach? No, I don't think so. Now, in the modern era of college football, I'm saying since 2010, that's when a lot of things started to change with media rights and facilities and all this sort of stuff. And the sport, started taking off in a big, big way. Since 2010, the best run of UCLA football was under Jim Mora in the early years in which he was UCLA's head coach. He had a 9-win season, a 10-win season, a 10-win season, and an 8-win season. That is the best that UCLA football has consistently been in my lifetime. Chip Kelly's record since COVID, after he came in, inherited a rough situation, did not turn it around quickly. Again, I'll grant you that, and recruiting can be a part of that. I'm not going to argue that point with you, UCLA fans. The last 3 years, he went 8-4, 9-4, 8-5. Are we going to sit here and pretend like that is some abject disaster, that they're just a calamity? Yeah, they had some bad losses. Yeah, they fell short of their full potential, particularly in 2022. That team with Dorian Thompson-Robinson was really good. They could have won the Pac-12. They didn't. Guess what? That's college football. Ohio State didn't win the Big Ten this past year. Does that mean they weren't good enough? Does that mean Ryan Day stinks? No. But UCLA fans, I think, have a tendency to get caught up in, this didn't happen and that didn't happen. Okay, but what is happening? Because I see UCLA relevant. I see UCLA winning games. I see UCLA in top 25 polls. I saw them get all the way inside the top 10 in 2022. So don't tell me that Chip Kelly has completely forgotten how to coach or that he's absolutely terrible. He did nothing right. It was all bad or anything like that. Did he recruit as well as Jim Mora? No. Mora has showcased what the recruiting standard can be and what they hope DeShaun Foster can be, and I'm going to get back to the administration when it comes to him in just a moment. Jim Mora's recruiting classes in that 4-year stretch went like this: 18th, 7th, 18th, and 12th. So consistently, what we have seen is that UCLA can be a top 20 recruiting team every year. Under Chip Kelly, they were consistently in the top 30. Is that a calamitous drop-off? No, it's a drop-off. It's certainly a drop-off, but it is not cratering all the way out. In 2024, 59th in the country. Yeah, and by the way, this is not factoring in the transfer portal, which has been very, very good these classes do factor in the transfer portal, which was very, very good to the Bruins and is a perfectly valid way to, build a quality, competent roster. And UCLA brought in a lot of great transfers over the last couple of years. So that brings us to DeShaun Foster. And even the UCLA administration was kind of taking shots at Chip Kelly. When he was introduced in that video where all the players are going crazy and they're so excited that DeShaun Foster, the running backs coach, who hasn't been a head coach or even a coordinator before, is taking over as their head coach. You know what I felt when DeShaun Foster was hired? That was the cheap option. That's not an all-in sort of investment. The timing is difficult. I understand that. The coaching carousel had shifted around. Jeff Hafley left Boston College. He left Boston College, and they were able to get a more qualified candidate for the job than DeShaun Foster. But the guy who introduced DeShaun Foster to the team, he said, "We want someone who wants to be a Bruin." Well, we got someone who is a Bruin. That's great, and I'm sure that feels really, really good. But is that the best coaching candidate available? We've seen coaches leave late in the cycle, and this is back to the administrative buy-in. I don't see it from the top down. I do not see a university that has a burning desire and is willing to pay what has to be paid to be competitive nationally in college football. I don't see it taking place. Can DeShaun Foster recruit better than Chip Kelly did? He certainly could. Could he do better with NIL? Yep, absolutely. Could he have a better relationship with fans and alumni? Yep, he could do all of those things. But don't the results on the field matter most at the end of the day? You're telling me the best guy you could get for a job that you feel Chip Kelly wildly underperformed at. You're telling me the best guy available? You tell me there were no Power 4 coordinators anywhere in college football that wanted to come be UCLA's head coach. That's not a good sign. That is an indictment of what UCLA's administration has done. And until that mindset changes, UCLA fans can blame Chip Kelly all they want. It's not going to get better as they go into the Big Ten until that aspect of the program changes course.